Hey guys, in this video we're going to show you how to work the companion, the allocation ratio portion. So sit tight.
To start this off, we want to fill in the file number and the effective date. Then we're going to enter some information about the subject, such as the gross living area. What's the square footage of the basement, if there is one? What's the age of the property and the sale price? Are there any seller concessions? And over to the right, you will see a site size. Now you want to only enter one here, either the square footage or the acreage, but make sure you just enter the one. The next section shows the site, masonry, gross living area, car storage, interior, exterior amenities, and basement. What we're going to do here is enter the percentage that we have determined using the National Association of Home Builders, maybe a Marshall and Swift or Blue Book or NADA, or if you're using some other source for your cost references. Using those sources, we can come up with a generalized percentage of what the entire property is broken down into. All of these entries will add up to 100%. On the right hand side of this form, you'll see where it's broken down into interior amenities and exterior amenities. And we've got some spaces where we've added some things for you already, but below there in the bottom you'll see some blank lines where you can add your own that may be unique to your property. Each one of these will also have a percentage. Again, we've used the National Association of Home Builders, I've used Marshall and Swift, gone into NADA and the Blue Book, and based on all of those we've come up with some ideas for support when you come up with your percentages, how much should actually go here. But you need to remember, as you add all these up, they all must equal 100% for this to work. So the interior side will equal 100% once they're all added together, as well as the exterior will also be added up to 100%. The next section shows the basement. Some of it may be finished. You may have unfinished basement. Again, you want to break out the percentages so that both will add up to be 100%. Then we're going to do the same with the interior amenities and the exterior amenities. How much will be derived as far as percentages and breakout? Now it depends on the property, and this is where we've always heard where the appraiser will say, well, based on my experience of the market. Well, this is where you actually get to use some of your experience from the market. Certain types of quality homes will command a higher percentage. In other words, if you have the KB type home where maybe the interior is more important than the exterior. The outside has a little 4x3 stoop, and there's a privacy fence, and there's a very small front porch. And that's all the exterior amenities there may be, along with maybe a fence. But the interior may be much more important because they have tile flooring. They may have added a granite countertop, and so on. When you get into some of the more expensive type homes where they're very good quality, even up to the excellent quality, you may see these percentages change because they have pools. They may have other items that command more of the monies. Now let's take a look at one of these examples where some of these items have been filled out for you so you can kind of get a feel of what it's going to look like. We mentioned the National Association of Home Builders. On our Resources tab, we have a PDF that you can click on that will show you the latest National Association of Home Builders survey, where they took over 3,000 properties across the United States and took the average and of all the different costs that we've been mentioning here. This is a source, along with, we mentioned the Marshall and Swift or some other source. You may have a connection to a builder, and they may be able to supply you with actual costs for that area, and you can use those as well. So as an example, you can see the file number and the effective date. I took a gross living area. You can see the basement is left blank. I didn't use one in this example. The site came from the actual recorded plat that you may have had available, or your survey. And again, you only want to enter 1 here, so you'll see the 7960 square feet. If you don't know the square footage, if all you have is the acreage, you could enter it on the second line. But again, you need to make sure that you only enter 1 of these 2 entries. Now in the next section, we talked about the site, masonry, and the foundation roof, gross living area, car storage, the interior, exterior amenities, and again the basement. These are percentages that I'm just using as an example. These are not hard and cut. Everything's not going to be the same. It all has to do with quality of construction as well. I have seen site ranges anywhere from as low as 10% all the way up to 25%. You're going to be able to determine that once you've done the allocation ratio method below in the next section of this form. And again, off to the right, you'll see I added a porch so that that wasn't on the original screen. Maybe they had a large covered porch and maybe it brought some value to that market. Again, these are not cut in stone. These percentages are based on my experience of the market, as well as I took into consideration the National Association of Home Builders, and I used the Marshall & Swift myself. Looking down, you'll see that the basement is left blank since there wasn't one. And then lastly, the interior and exterior amenities. I broke it down at 60-40 because the interior seems to be a little more important to the home buyers in this area than what is outside. In other words, they probably just have regular patios, a privacy fence, and in this case, he's got a little front porch.
Now we're moving into the allocation ratio method. Here's where you're going to look in the tax records in your market and find homes that are similar to the subject, not necessarily exactly alike and not necessarily sales, just homes that are similar on similar tract sizes. And you're going to put their address in this grade block, excuse me, and then the total assessed value, the total assessment by the county, and then the improvement value by the county. Put in at least 4 or 5 or 6 because you want to get a good sampling, and all you're doing here is trying to find the ratio. So don't worry about trying to find sales in the area. That's not what this is doing. This is getting the ratio from the county tax records. Here's an example of what we've been talking about. As you can see, the total assessed values are the middle column and the assessed improvement values are on the right column. We've actually, in this example, put numbers for our sources that we use from the county tax records, but you can put addresses here if you'd rather. After you've completed the assessment part, then you'll come down and put in your comparable sales, and this will actually compute your adjustments for you. Here's an example of what we've been discussing. We actually use 6 comparables in this, and you will notice that the address is blank in this. This is from an actual report, so we left the address off just for confidentiality reasons, but you can see how the form works.
This next section of the form is the results. You'll probably notice that they're all blank right now. So what you have to do is click on the Submit button. And once you do that, it will probably take you back to the top of the page. So you'll need to scroll back down, and you'll see all of this entry here filled out for you, giving you all of the different adjustments, giving you the land value based on the allocation ratio, gives you the range of those ratios, and based on those percentages we talked about earlier, you'll see all the required adjustments. And again, this is what's going to give you support for your appraisal report. Again, click on this. We'll click on the next one and we'll see what this kind of looks like. So after we've clicked on the Submit button, you'll see all this has populated. The land value is from the allocation ratio at $38,300. Now, whether you want to go with 38, or if you want to go with 38.5, or if you want to use 38.3, that is totally up to you. But again, this is what is going to give you support for that opinion of land value. And again, we mentioned those ratios, and there they are: high and low, median, mean, mode, and then a reconciliation. You'll notice that the mode is 0 because mode stands for those occurrences that happen most often. And in this scenario, we didn't have any that happened twice or more. So it will automatically populate a 0 if this is the case. Then you get into the site adjustments based on those site sizes that you entered previously and based on what was known as the 4-3-2-1 rule. These are the adjustments that would be necessary for each of the comparable sales, that the ones you choose to use. So in other words, your adjustment may be 5,800 or 5,850 or 5,900 for sale number 1. Sale number 2 may command an adjustment of 1,000. You might feel that, these two lots are very similar and I'm just not going to adjust for that. And that's okay. But if you decided to make an adjustment, you have support for it. Off to the right, you'll see the adjustments for all the amenities. Here we're talking a full bath being $43.21. Now again, you're going to use your judgment here. You may decide that a bath is $4,000, $4,300, $4,500, but it beats pulling something out of the air and saying a bath is just $2,000, like maybe some of you were taught 20 years ago. Every bath is $2,500 or every half bath is $1,500. Well, that's not really true, and this gives you support for whatever it is you decide that it should be. Lastly, let's look at the car storage. You'll see that it says $25,700. That's for the entire 2-car garage in this case. So in other words, each bay is probably around $12,000 to $12,500, somewhere in there. So if you had a 1-car in one of your comparable sales, there may be an adjustment necessary, and this gives you an idea, a range to go by. You may want to go with 12. You may want to go with 13, or anywhere in between. The last item is the GLA per square foot. You'll see it says in this example $36.92. I don't know that anyone would ever actually use that exact number. That's too precise, to be honest. But if you decided you wanted to go with 35, 36, 37, now you have support for whatever number it is you decide. These numbers can be used alongside. I know there's a lot of folks who say, what about paired sales? Well, if you have some paired sales that you could actually use, you can use those and pair them up with this and say, well, here it is. I've got paired sales at this number. I have a central tendencies of my comparable properties that say this 37. I'm going to say it's this.
You will notice this section is grayed out. This is an area that you won't need to look at every report, but it has all of your calculations in case you were ever called and questioned as to how the calculations above were computed. This will give you all that information. You will need to print this to PDF. You will want all pages of this in your Word file, but it's not necessarily something that you will look at on every report.
That's the allocation ratio method in a nutshell. This is probably going to take you 15 to 20 minutes when you first start, but trust me, once you get the hang of this, it's just like anything else. Once you learn it, it goes much faster. I know that it takes me and Frank probably 10 minutes, 15 at most if it's a difficult property, but this is something you're going to want to do each and every appraisal. Again, think about it, 10 minutes, maybe 15. So that you can have support in your work file that will answer any question that a regulator may have. I think it's worth it.